What's going on, everybody? Jason back again with another video. Today's topic, Apple. Why not? Let's talk about Apple. Now, I know it's kind of like the bull in the china shop kind of question, or subject matter for that matter. They're a great company. What can we say? Apple, year over, they make the most money. They have the products that sell, but I'm really beginning to feel a certain change in terms of the climate of purchasing, especially if you look at any consumer reports. You can see that it's just something's changing in the market. And we all know there's tons of comparable devices that sell for a fraction of the cost of an iPhone. We all know this. But when it comes to brand recognition and brand loyalty, Apple somehow has pioneered some form of voodoo? I don't know. But no, they just have a really effective marketing team, and it reflects in their sales, and their customer base is absolutely loyal, which is great. I think that's good that people trust a product or a brand, for that matter, for certain things. But I don't feel that way, and I'll tell you why. Because I've been working in the cell phone industry as a sales rep on the floor and a technician, it's not sales technician, but a device technician for repairing and assessing, the condition of devices. So I have a direct link with the public, the purchasing public. I see on a daily basis exactly how people spend their money, and they don't spend their money with the same kind of razor sharp acuity that a techie would use when making a purchase, assessing features and all that. They don't care. When people buy an iPhone, they're buying into a lifestyle, and they're buying into the illusion that they're buying the best because Apple told them. And that is extremely cool and extremely dangerous, I think, especially for someone just to blindly purchase something based upon what they were told, as opposed to, being a savvy consumer and, reading a couple reviews, or realizing that when you go into a store, maybe you should consider other things than the fact that the color is rose gold. Maybe your storage, maybe. So you don't come back to the store and try to return it because you were not paying attention when you bought that phone. A lot of times I've noticed that people make the excuse, well, oh, it's just a cell phone, it's just a cell phone. Yeah, it's just a cell phone. I'm like, yes, it is just a phone, and they're not essential for existence. But if you are going to be buying one, why don't you do a little bit of research, just a little bit, and make sure you're buying the right phone for you. I'll give you some examples. I have hundreds, literally hundreds, but I'll give you a couple key ones. The other day I was doing a service swap where I was basically swapping one device onto the account. So we were flip-flopping numbers onto two separate devices. And I asked my customer, could you please power down your device while I'm doing this process? And she replied to me, how do you do that? She replied to me, how do you power down your phone? And I was perplexed by that. She proceeded to try to take a screenshot. I'm not making this up. This is true. This is 100% true. Yes, she did not know how to power off her iPhone. Now, whatever. This is something that's if you've had a cell phone for the past 3 to 4 years, pretty much all have the same method for powering down. So that was just mind-boggling to me. Just how can you be that unaware of how something works that's so expensive that you are reliant on a daily basis? That seems irresponsible. And I'm not saying Android, I'm not saying that I don't see the same type of, this same type of trend with Android users in my findings and my years of experience, but it's a lot less prevalent. And I just noticed it. It's just something Apple needs to do a better job, but I know they won't, but they need to do a better job of educating their consumers as to how their products work. Had another example. So many people that I've sold iPhones to, they don't know how to properly utilize their iCloud. So basically what happens is something happens to their phone and they end up losing all of their information. So they lose just everything because they didn't switch on a simple feature in the device, which would have avoided them so much agony for losing those baby pictures, those contacts. So many people don't utilize the functions, the free services that these phones offer in order to utilize their device properly and to avoid these headaches with losing information when devices become compromised in whatever manner. Another thing that I noticed amongst a lot of the consumers that purchase Apple products is that, let's see, what else can I say? They don't care about storage options, or they don't care about, oh, I have 16 gigs, it should be okay, when you can clearly see that the current device or the older iPhone they had is literally maxed to capacity. They just don't care. But a couple days later, my phone's full, my phone's full. I'm like, yes, I was trying to explain that to you, sir. Storage is important. This is something that I asked you. Or, now this is a really, this is crazy. This one is really crazy. Now, I just thought about this. People that are paranoid about utilizing Touch ID on iPhones. Now, this is something that I've noticed, and it's really stupid, because to interface with an iPhone, you have to, at times, you are going to have to press the home button. You just have to. For certain functions, Siri, multitasking, backing out of an application. But some people are so paranoid that they don't utilize the Touch ID on their phone because they're afraid that Apple will steal their fingerprints. So let me get this straight. You touch this button every day, probably dozens, if not hundreds of times a day potentially, but for some reason, because you're not utilizing the function of the home button as a fingerprint sensor, you think that they're not still capable of, if they wanted to, retrieving your thumbprint or your index finger or whatever you're using. So you just think that just because you don't enable it, it's not automatically going to take your fingerprints or record it. That's like the logic there. Like, if you just think about that for a second, like, yeah, okay. Or the person that forgets their backup password in their Touch ID. And this is something that I run into all the time. People don't write down their passwords because, I don't know, they think they have a didactic memory and they're never going to forget anything. But, of course, they forget, and then they end up locking themselves out of their iPhone. And then when I tell them that they have to go to the Apple Store with the proof of purchase to unlock it, they want to act like it's my fault or that it's something I did, and they think I have their passwords, which is absolutely ludicrous if they think that someone is just storing their personal content somewhere. The same people that are afraid of using Touch ID ask you if you have their password. The logic there is extremely flawed. And then also, last point that I want to talk about is picture taking. Now, I know everyone sees people taking pictures with their phones and things like that. And for the life of me, even though I know the iPhone 6 and for years they've had a 4x3 inch sensor, which is essentially very square-like, why do people hold their phones vertically when taking photos? Why? I mean, it's yeah, okay, I find the casual, sometimes you have to take a landscape shot, but to take a photo in every different situation in that type of aspect ratio, when you put it on your television or you upload it to Facebook or wherever, if you're taking a large shot, a landscape shot, wouldn't it make just more sense to, I don't know, just turn the phone a little bit and then take the picture? Like, you just, and And it's just like Apple always wants to tout their photography prowess, but you know, they don't educate their user base as to properly how to take a photo. And this is with not just iOS, but this is with Android too. You know, for some reason, people just can't take photos in horizontally. Like if you have a 16:9 sensor, why are you gonna flip it and take a shot? Anyway, and it's gotten to the point, I guess that brings back to my point, and I'm not going to let this video run on too long, but I just want to get this out, that it's gotten to the point where so many other competitive OEMs have products that are just so great and so affordable, and they give a comparable experience, if not better in a lot of areas, to the iPhone. But people have they have a certain blindness when they hear about the possibility of variety. And for some reason that scares people. You know, we live in a culture that's so diverse, you know, so many diversity, so many interests, but the sole quantity or a large portion of them are okay with utilizing a device that the majority of the people use when there are hundreds of other options that may better suit their lifestyle. Just because this is what Apple offers and I have no other options. But you do. You're not an indentured servant and you can think for yourself, okay? And then, you know, you just have to use a little bit more sense, I think, when making purchases. And that's exactly what I don't see with their customer base. And it's just extremely frustrating as a salesperson, you know, trying to sell someone something that you think that would work better for their lifestyle. And they're like, no, it's not an Apple. I don't want it. And it's just like, well, you know, you can get a very comparable experience on your LG, your Samsung, or your HTC. Why not take that chance? I mean, you've told me that you want better battery life. Your camera sucks. You know, you don't like, you know, how things are arranged on your device. Well, why don't you break out of the mold and try something different, right? No, it has to be an iPhone. I can't be seen with an Android. Why? It's become such a status symbol to be seen with an Android or without an Android. It says that you're poor or something. No, a lot of these devices all have a very similar price points. They all do. But if you compare, like say for instance, the new HTC 10, right? Hopefully I'll have that soon, so I'll be able to do an unboxing and show you guys exactly, you know, what it looks like. Even though there's a ton of comparisons, I'm going to do some unique new things and hopefully you like it. But that device is a great device. You know, when you compare it feature for feature with a $650 16 gig iPhone 5S, it absolutely pales in comparison. Now, of course, you don't have you don't have, you know, the iOS operating system, and then you don't have, well, a thinner body. Wow, 9mm versus 6.9mm. I think a couple of millimeters of thinness isn't going to kill you. And also with the curved design of the HTC 10, you get a much more compact, ergonomic device in your hand. It just feels a lot easier to hold over an iPhone, which has just a flat back of aluminum. And you know, when you compare those two devices dollar for dollar, you get a lot more. You do get a lot more with the HTC 10. You really do. You just get a lot more for your money. There is more value to be had there than over a base model iPhone, you know. And of course, but it. Oh yeah, sorry. For some reason the video cut out while I was recording. But yeah, I mean, to wrap everything up, I know I said a lot. You know, these companies they all make great products. Millions of dollars goes into R&D and all that. And when you live in a world that's so diverse, it's so sad to see a large number of people not really taking a little initiative and, you know, maybe realizing that they don't necessarily need that $650 phone when they have never even downloaded an app, or when they don't need all the capabilities. You know, they can save a lot of money, you know, just by not making that huge expensive purchase for something they don't really need. So anyway, that's what I have to say today, guys. You know, if you want to chat me up, hit me up in the comments. You know, I'd love to get some feedback as to what you guys think about this issue. It's, you know, it's sad, but that's just consumers, I guess. Just can't get around it. You know, people buy what they want, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, you know, when you're buying something that's so expensive, you know, maybe you should put a little bit more thought into it. So this is Jason signing off for the day. Um, like I said, this is a series I'm going to do every other day, and then there'll be other videos coming hopefully very soon. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I really want to try and do some things on YouTube, see what you guys think, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. It's kind of rainy out right now. I'm in Chicago. Yeah, peace out.